Hi there. I'm Jason, formerly of Animal Planet Scaled, and the owner of Calgary and Edmonton Reptile Parties in Alberta, Canada. For over a decade, I've been teaching people about reptiles, amphibians, and other creepy crawlies. So join me today to go on a reptile adventure and learn about these fascinating creatures. A big focus of my career has been educating people and teaching them about animals that are misunderstood. Snakes are obviously a big one, but they're not the only ones. So today, we're going to meet some of the animals that are both the cutest and some of the creepiest in the animal kingdom. This is a tiger salamander. Tiger salamanders are found throughout North America, and there are both western tigers, like this guy here, and eastern tiger salamanders. Growing up as a kid here in Calgary, I actually used to find these guys in a marsh near my house. I would spend hours finding them along with frogs, tadpoles, fish, and water bugs. Unfortunately, that marsh is gone. It was developed for human use, and that means not only do we take away their home, but people don't have the opportunity to experience nature here in Calgary the way I used to. Field herping is an incredible experience. If you have the opportunity to do so, I really encourage you to do it. Discovering snakes, lizards, amphibians in the wild is a really incredible feeling. But there's a few rules you want to keep in mind. Number one, don't grab stuff, especially if you don't know what it is. You do not want to get bit by a venomous snake. Secondly, we leave them where they are. Take pictures, take memories, but we do not take wild animals home as pets. And finally, leave it in the same shape that you found it. If you're picking up a log or a rock or sorting around to find these animals, put those back in the same place where you found them. A lot of times when people see a salamander, they go, oh, look at the gecko or look at the lizard. And I can understand that. The body is very similar, but they are 100% an amphibian. Amphibians include salamanders and newts. Newts look very similar, but they're typically more aquatic, as well as frogs and toads, and caecilians, which look like an earthworm, but they're an amphibian. Just like geckos, they can lose their tail and grow it back, but they have a trick the gecko doesn't have. If a predator were to bite off his leg and he escaped, he can regrow his limb. Now, there are some invertebrates that can do that, like starfish, but in terms of vertebrates, it's a very rare trait, making this one of the more unique creatures in the animal kingdom. This proper froggy gentleman is the White's tree frog of Australia. Now you're looking at this and going, Jason, that frog is purple, not white. And you're correct. They actually do change colors. They can be purple, brown, and green, but they're never white. It's actually white apostrophe S, which means belonging to white. So it's named after a scientist. They're also known as dumpy tree frogs, Australian green tree frogs, whatever you want to call them, I call them cute. They've adapted remarkably well to human habitation. They've been found in people's houses, on their porches, in their windowsills. Being nocturnal, they actually like to hang out near lights, because when lights are on at night, the bugs they eat, like flies and moths, are being drawn to that light, and they're there to grab themselves their dinner. There's a lot of cool things about amphibians, but one of the things that's cool about them is their skin. It's actually a membrane. They absorb oxygen and moisture from the environment around them. If there's pollution or toxins in the environment around them, that can make them sick. Anything they come in contact with can make them sick. So you have to be very careful. A lot of times with birthday parties, kids have been snacking on things like potato chips or cheesies. The amphibians we don't touch during my shows. For me to touch them, guys, I wash my hands really well. A lot of times I'll use gloves, and I'm really limiting how much I'm going to touch him. That's an important thing to remember, is amphibians are kind of like fish. They're fun to look at. They're not something you're going to play with and cuddle. This is the Pixie Frog, also known as the African bullfrog. The name Pixie Frog, to me, is one of the most hilarious names in the animal kingdom. When you think of pixies, you think of Tinkerbell and other fairies that are light and float on air. There's nothing light and dainty about this frog, which will grow to be the size of a football. These frogs are found in the African savanna, where it is hot and dry, so they spend a good portion of their time buried underground in a slime sack. Then eventually the skies open up and they are blessed by the rains down in Africa. At that point in time, they emerge and they breed. The males actually fight for females' attention, which is quite spectacular to see. When they breed, they lay their eggs and the tadpoles hatch in temporary bodies of water. And they grow and develop into a froglet. The word amphibian actually means dual life, starting off in one form and going through a process called metamorphosis and changing. So they start off as a tadpole and they grow back legs, front legs, develop lungs, lose their gills, and absorb their tail to turn into a froglet. A lot of people think it's because of a land life and water life, but there are many amphibian species that are completely aquatic. What are those tadpoles eating when they're babies? Well, the answer is each other. They are cannibals. And it is a race to eat your siblings and turn into a froglet before they do. That big appetite continues. If it fits, it's food. In fact, this is one of only 3 frogs that have teeth. So, they use those teeth to grip their prey as they swallow it down whole. At this size, he could maybe eat a baby mouse or smaller bugs, but as he gets bigger, so will the appetite. In the wild, things like millipedes, centipedes, scorpions, tarantulas, even vertebrates like smaller amphibians, snakes, lizards, and birds can be devoured by these giants of the African savanna. This is a vinegar worm. Vinegaroons are found around the world, and they get their name because they spray an acid from their butt that has the same acidity and smells like vinegar. It is harmless. If it were to spray on my hand, it wouldn't hurt. The idea, though, is you can imagine getting vinegar up your nose and your eyes would be uncomfortable. It would be the same thing for a predator. Other than that, they don't really have other ways of defense. Their claws are very small. They're meant for catching food, not protecting themselves. And these whips that they use, they're modified legs they use as feelers. Because they live in caves, they live underground, under rotting wood, and it's dark. They use those to find their way around, figure out where they're going, and find food. Although this might look creepy to some, they're very fascinating critters and completely harmless. Like many animals in the insect and invertebrate kingdom, they're just misunderstood. They're not something to be afraid of. This is the emperor scorpion. Emperor scorpions are a rainforest species found in Africa and are the largest species of scorpion on Earth. Now the question we're asked all the time, whether it's a spider, snake, or scorpion, is that poisonous? The answer is no. He's venomous. There is a difference. If an animal bites you or stings you, like a rattlesnake, cobra, or bee, they are venomous. If you get sick from eating it, like a pufferfish, monarch butterfly, or poison dart frog, that is poisonous. So yes, I am holding a venomous scorpion. Obviously, I'm not too concerned. It'd be more likely to pinch me with those big claws rather than sting me. They can give a nice pinch, but it's not going to be serious. Even if it did sting me, not a concern. The venom is milder than a bee sting. Maybe a bit of irritation and swelling, that's about it. The larger the scorpion, the less potent its venom is. Now that doesn't mean babies are more dangerous. A baby emperor scorpion is just as harmless. But smaller species that stay small as an adult are the ones that are medically significant. Extremely painful stings, many that might require a hospital visit. However, it is very rare for someone to die from a scorpion sting. Usually there are extenuating circumstances, like they're already ill or they're too far away from a hospital. But if you get treatment, you're going to be okay. It's not like the movies. You don't get stung and immediately fall over. So much like other invertebrates and bugs, scorpions are just misunderstood. They're an animal that you definitely want to be aware of, but there's no reason to harm them. This is Sox, the Brazilian white-knee tarantula. That's her name because science has proven you cannot be afraid of something named Sox. Tarantulas and other spiders are some of the most misunderstood and feared animals on Earth, and really there's no reason to be. I'm holding her. Obviously, she is not doing anything to me. The chances of her biting are astronomically small. What she's more likely to do is kick with her back legs, and she has something on her abdomen called urticating hairs. They have little barbs on them, so when they kick their legs, those hairs come off and they can get embedded in your skin. They can also get in a predator's eyes, nose, and mouth, and they itch and burn. Getting a face full of that is definitely going to make something not want to continue to mess with a tarantula. Now, that only applies to tarantulas in the Americas. Your tarantulas out east in Australia, Africa, and Asia do not have those hairs. There's where you're going to have your more dangerous tarantulas, ones that are more likely to bite and whose venom is more medically significant. It can be extremely painful, might even need a hospital visit. No one has ever died from being bitten by a tarantula. Tarantulas cannot kill people. That is a myth. There are also normal spiders or common spiders that can be medically significant. But again, they don't want to bite. Most bites happen by accident. So someone is reaching into a wood pile, or you're rolling over on them, or you try and kill them. If we leave them alone, they will leave us alone. No spider or snake or any animal is waking up going, I can't wait to bite a human today. If it did bite me, again, the venom is very mild. So, what is interesting to me is the fact that in all the years of doing this, I ask kids in my shows, what do you do when you find a spider in your house? Most of them say take it outside. If I were to do that same poll of a group of adults, I would get an entirely different answer. Squish it, flush it down the toilet, vacuum it up, burn the house down. That's not a great way to handle it, because again, they're not trying to bother you. But that's interesting to me, that kids are the ones that are like, take it outside, and it's the adults that have that visceral response. So that shows that even though there is some natural fear of spiders, we actually learn that fear and that response of, I'm going to kill it. So the correct answer is to do exactly what the kids say. Grab a glass or a jar and a piece of paper, so you don't have to touch it, trap it, and take it outside. Because spiders are really important. The ratio of insects to humans is 200 million to one person. If we did not have spiders and other predatory bugs to help control those populations, we would be overwhelmed. So we want to help the spiders. By releasing them, they're going to eat the things like the mosquitoes and flies, which can bite us and spread diseases, and things like grasshoppers and caterpillars, which can damage our plants. So we want to make sure we respect spiders instead of fearing them. I hope you've enjoyed this opportunity to learn more about the cute and the creepy of the animal kingdom. Amphibians and invertebrates are some of my favorite animals to learn about. There's so much variety in how they live, how they survive, and knowledge is power, and that power helps us become less afraid. So I'm going to encourage you to, even if you went, a spider, to learn more about them, because the more you learn, the less you're going to be afraid.